Welcome, everyone. I'm super excited to have Bill Campbell here with us today for Oakland Creates Art Makers interview series. I'm going to share my screen and then I'm going to ask Bill to introduce himself, talk a little bit about who he is and what he does. Can you see this slideshow?
Now I can sort of, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
talk,
yeah, there you go.
yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let me see. It says Bill Campbell is. Oh, I'm Bill Campbell. I'm an author, editor. Mostly, I'm a publisher. We do it's Rosarian Publishing. We do comics and science fiction, focus mainly on brown folks, and we publish people from all around the world. Um, to give you a quick starter, my goodness, I don't even know where to start. Sorry about that. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we do. It started off with my writing novels, and that kind of got me into doing publishing, and that is how we know each other,
Nice, nice.
right?
So I think
Because you were
we
in APB and you were in Box of Bones too, right?
right. And I think we met at Crown, Maya Williams, gosh, why am I forgetting?
Oh, you was it in Detroit?
It was in Detroit at is it MeccaCon?
MechaCon. So
Yeah.
it wasn't at a BCAF?
Nope, because I went to MeccaCon in 2015 or 16, and
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah,
then
you're right.
I did see you, I think, at BCAF a year or two later. So
No,
talk
you're kind of like one of those people I feel like has been around forever. So
I
it's
feel
kind
that
of
way. I feel that way too.
well, yeah, there are just certain people that have been around since the beginning, and that was 2013. So um yeah, you're just like one of those people, one of the part of the tribe.
Thank you for that. So like I said, I'd like to know a little bit more about your books. In Coontown Killing Caper, one of my good friends from childhood, he loved this book. So talk a
Oh,
little,
cool.
yeah, I don't know if you met Joey Soji.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, he went to high school with my older brother, so I've known Joey since I was literally a kid.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and he loves this book. Talk a little bit about that book and what the
All
premise.
right. Well, this goes back to my novelist days. So to give you an idea, like I decided I was going to be a writer when I was 9 years old, right?
Wow.
And that was all because my mom used to make industrial films for Westinghouse, and she took me out to Hollywood for a week, like skip
Nice.
school. And the guy she made these films with, like, adopted me like his, like, I don't know, son for a quick minute, like Duke Goldberg. So he took me all around Hollywood, like showed me, like, back in the studios, here's how we edit films, and here, check that out. And I was even at a party in Hollywood Hills, like, as a 9-year old.
That's
And this is
great.
1980. So I tell people, I'm like, they were probably like doing coke and banging each other in other rooms. And I'm just like, I was just like, okay, this is great. So, and then I decided to be a science fiction writer in my early 20s. So anyway, I um I wrote the first book, Sunshine Patriots, and then I wrote another thing called My Booty Novel, which was this is back in the 2000s when chick lit and lad lit and all the black, like, rip-offs
Well,
were just running rampant all over literature, right? Um, and my old job was producing audiobooks for the blind for a Library of Congress. So I ended up reading a lot of chick lit and lad lit and
okay.
black something lit. I can't even remember what it was called. And I wrote my booty novel to make fun of that
Ah,
because it was just like so pat. It was just so I actually, for that book, I kind of patted it on Scream. You know how Scream told you exactly what was going to happen and
yeah,
scared you anyway? So
yeah,
that was sort of like my booty novel. It was like, oh, these are all the different things that I have
yeah.
to do. Meanwhile, he's like single for the first time in dating. So basically, I tell you what's going to happen like throughout the whole book. And I was like, but anyway, that got me a big fancy schmancy New York agent.
Oh, okay.
In fact, he was so big that back when the Washington Post Book World was a thing, they actually did a feature on him.
Mm,
Um, but he couldn't sell my booty novel, and he told me that he told me I wasn't ghetto enough.
wow.
I mean, my dad was from Jamaica. My On the American side, we were coal miners from like emancipation to the 1980s, right? So I grew up in like these mining towns. I grew up in suburbs that were mining and mill towns too. So hearing I wasn't ghetto enough was like an everyday occurrence because I'm not from
Right.
there. Like
You're not.
and I'm
Yeah,
like
yeah, for sure.
and my thing was like, well, you never tell a white writer that you're not Appalachian enough, or
Oh,
you don't have that genuine San Diego feel. You never do that. So I was like, bleep this. I'm gonna
mm,
show you exactly what you say.
yeah.
So that was what Coontown was. I was just like, that was my whole response, and basically, it's a satire that basically takes the white mediated gaze and turns it in on itself, right? So
Wow.
everything they say about us, well, not everything, but pretty basically everything they say about us is in that book, right? But also, instead of like a woe is me thing, I'm like the white mediated gaze and these portrayals of blackness occur for very specific reasons,
Right.
right? So like that's sort of like where it always has legs, because it's not like, oh, I can't believe he didn't say I was ghetto enough. Like it was almost his job to tell me I wasn't ghetto enough, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like people always try to take it, like you're not blank enough, for us, marginalized folks. you know
No,
so the funny thing was I write it, and my agent was like, Bill, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? It's like offensive as hell. And I'm like, right.
right.
I'm just saying what y'all say.
Yeah,
Like that's what, yeah, and what y'all say about us is offensive as hell, but y'all treat it like it's real.
exactly. Yeah.
So that was, and so I think like a lot of people like it's really wild because both Sunshine Patriots and Coontown like end up getting taught in universities sometimes and all this other stuff. So it's kind of wild because that was like my farewell to publishing.
Mm,
Like I was just like, well, you guys don't like anything I do, no matter what it is, you know.
right.
So here, if I'm not ghetto enough, this is my swan song. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about you.
Well, now I want to read it.
I
Now,
mean, I don't know what about the cover that says you shouldn't read it.
it's not the cover. It's not the cover.
It is the cover. People just afraid. They're just
No,
afraid.
no, I think, honestly, I think a lot of times when I think of your writing, and because I know you as a publisher, I think that it's probably going to be intellectually over my head. And I am such a sucker for very simple plot lines, very simple storytelling. I mean, I'm a Dan Brown fan of, for
Oh,
God's
okay,
sake.
yeah.
So in my free time, I want to read something that I don't have to think too hard about. It's a form of escape for me. Now, if
I
I'm
mean,
reading,
it's a satire. It's about vampire crack babies,
that sounds super awesome.
Yeah, like welfare queens and all that stuff. Like
Well, I
it's
think
just
that's part of the reason why I insert so much humor in my comic book about
right.
zombies, because it is not necessarily satire, but it's very sarcastic, and it is punching, making fun of how they view us, right?
Right.
And
I mean,
so,
satire is a tricky thing,
mhm,
but um and the thing is like what I realized, because satire is tricky because a lot of it is just taking things to their logical conclusion. A lot of times, so which ends up being seem kind of absurd because that's literally, well, we're living in a satire now, right? Like so. I think it'd be really hard to write satire now because I'm like every ridiculous thing that you can possibly think of is happening
is happening.
as
No,
as part of domestic and foreign policy.
agreed, 100%.
But a lot of it is that some of it is like reportage, some of it you're just making up. Like it's this really weird mixed bag of stuff, and it's sort of like this this overarching thing. So you can, like, most people get it, but there are times when people like don't get it. Like people who are definitely more earnest don't get it. Like I
Mm.
remember one sister was like, who read it was like, "You really hate black people." I was like, Sister Gal, that's like the exact opposite of what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking like, if you think about what they're saying about us is true, I can see where you would think that.
Or if you just read it straightforward with no
But I
sense.
mean, I think like vampire crack babies, like is kind of like a hard,
It's a
like
giveaway.
it's a
It's a giveaway, right?
yeah, like,
Funny as hell. But you know what? That's the thing too. When I tell people I make a zombie comic book based in Oakland, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I see zombies there every day." I'm like, "You are a moron."
I mean, and that's a fair thing to say about them.
You are.
But you know, they a lot of people don't understand us, and there's a lot of things to be confused about. But you
No, I
know,
mean, I literally have done zines where like well, they're called zines, personal zines, where but it's nonfiction because literally everything in there, microaggressions have been directly said to me.
yeah.
Like I said in the intro, either directly said to me or screamed at me from a passing car.
Well, that's not micro.
That
That's just aggression.
it's just aggression. But I mean, but I'll have people read it and they'll be like, "People actually said that to you?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah."
I mean, I think that there are a lot of times where people need to feel like that stuff doesn't, because like a lot of times I say like, oh, I said I wasn't ghetto enough. Like that should just be a thing that you understand.
Mm,
People just kind of like don't want to understand that.
exactly. Or just
You know,
the idea that because you're black, you're gonna be ghetto. Like that is
well,
outrageous.
that was a thing. Well, that was one of the things, right? Because like this was 2010, right? So, um, you know, when he said that, like the census had just come out, and like it was like 70% of black people don't even live in majority minority neighborhoods,
Right.
let alone. But so you're like, and there was like all kinds of like crime statistics I was reading, and just like all these different things were like, hey, pretty much all of this is science fiction, right? Like the portrayal of us, because you're just like, right, it was like constantly shown in the hood, and I'm not, and you know, my thing was like, where you're born is just an accident, right?
But not only that,
Like it's just chance. So I'm not sitting up there like I'm not from the ghetto. I'm like from really I like if I took you back to like my mom's hometown, it's like it literally has it's so big it has two stop signs, right?
well,
So there's only like so much like so many airs I can put on because yeah, you know, my ancestors like went underground and like died
but
to
there's
like
not that's my point though, that there is no there's no reality based reason why you would assume because someone's black or brown that they lived or born or grew up in what you may consider the ghetto. And that's also
yeah,
relative, right? So
right.
you know what I'm saying? So
But
that
there was all yeah, there was like all kinds of like crime, education statistics, all that stuff that just run totally counter to just the constant portrayal of us. Like it's gotten a lot better since 2010, but it's still like these overriding assumptions
right. And but
that
also to the on the same other side of the token is like you said, you would never ask someone who is not black, oh well, you're not trailer park enough. No one says
well,
that.
you wouldn't say it to white people. I think brown folks of all kinds of different things get all kinds of different things, right? I mean, it's sort of like where are you from,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, or like
Mhm.
if you have a Spanish surname, you're Mexican, right? Like it's like I think like it's just all the different things. It's like all the different ways that people constantly every day go like you are other, even though as we were talking before this, like brown folks as a whole are like 93% of humanity, right?
Yeah.
But like how such a small population, I mean, like 7% of humanity, right? Like gets to other like 8 billion people is kind of impressive.
It's wild. And but
Yeah.
the amount
Anyway,
of the
so
amount
yeah, so Coontown is like basically that, but the tagline is all the rappers in Coontown are being killed, and everybody thinks it's vampire crack babies doing the killing. So it's up to ex model, ex supermodel, ex homicide detective, Private Eye Genevieve Noir to save the day.
Nice. So you basically got what's her name? Who plays Coffee Brown?
No, so the thing with Genevieve Noir is that basically everybody thinks she's white.
Oh my gosh. See, this sounds too good to be true. Now
Yeah, so
I
like
literally
throughout
have
the
to
whole book,
read.
like, cause she's like, I'm black, blah blah blah, and people like calling her the white lady all the time.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
Right. Because I thought like, because Genevieve means like mother of the race, and then noir means black. So I thought it'd be kind of
Mhm.
interesting to have like the woman who's like, the black woman is white. Like basically everybody just thinks she's white.
And I'm thinking when you're saying that, I'm thinking Pam Grier type.
Think Lonette McKee.
Ah, okay. I know exactly who that is too, because I just saw a little article on her.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Somebody who could just basically pass. Like that, and that's like her burden. Her burden is like the fact that she can pass and respectability. Like that's like her whole thing.
So let's jump into the more comics style too, like again, the Mothership or Bad Mothers. Talk a little bit about because I know you've published some graphic novels as well. Like you
Right.
said, The Box of Bones, Volume 1 and 2. Talk a little bit about these two.
Well, mothership is the thing that actually mothership is Rosarium's mothership, right? So, a lot of things. So when I did Coontown, um, it got taught in like 5 or 6 universities, and nobody who knew who I was, right? So I
Mhm.
can't find a public. And then Sunshine Patriots, which is the first book, um, around that time, uh, a guy getting his PhD at West Virginia University wrote part of his PhD dissertation on Sunshine Patriots. So it was like
Wow.
science fictional reactions to war. It was Ursula K. Le Guin, Robert Heinlein, Joe Haldeman, another author, and me, right? So I'm like, wait a second. I'm good enough for academia where people are like teaching my stuff or writing dissertations about my stuff, but I'm not good enough for publishing. So then the problem is publishing. And then like when I was doing Coontown, this was 2012. I was doing a whole bunch of like I was doing some comic book festivals. I was doing like little literary festivals. I was street vending, but I was in my head, I was just like, I'm good enough for publishing. I mean, I'm good enough for academia, but I'm not good enough for publishing. There's got to be other people like this, right?
Right.
And then, um, like that was when I met John Jennings. Like we met in Atlanta for OnyxCon,
Oh,
right? And I
nice.
was like, oh, here's somebody who's brilliant. And I would just keep meeting like all these different brilliant, black folks, brown folks, whatever you want to, all the different things who were just not being published. I was like, okay, that's real. But also, one of the things that are always bugging us, because yet again, I always tell people if you own the field, you can always move the goalpost, right? So I'm being told that all of these different folks with melanin like don't write science fiction, they don't read science fiction. But at the time, like I joined Facebook because my cousin was just like, hey, somebody on Facebook's reading my booty novels. So I joined, right? Still friends with that person to this day, right? Like, on Facebook. Never met them. But um and you would see like all kinds of like black science fiction fan groups. You're seeing like there are these writers in Africa and Asia and brown folks in Europe, like obviously Latin America. Like you're sitting there and I'm like, oh my god, like there's like a whole entire world of people writing science fiction that they're saying, white publishers saying like don't exist, right?
Right.
At the time, Afrofuturism started percolating like in 2012 because people were like, "Wait, I'm an Afrofuturist? What is that? Like, why are people calling me that?" Right?
Right.
So I was just like, "Okay, um, somebody should do something about this." And I always think like, if you had that thought, that somebody's probably you.
Mm.
If you're built for it, I guess. So that was part of it, and then I was thinking also. So I was just like, okay, we need an anthology that focuses on people of color. you know, even though, yeah, there are like 8 billion of us. But like whatever. Uh, um, uh, yeah, so I was just like, and then also I was thinking, well, Afrofuturism is going to become a thing. And I was thinking of like loosely for art movements in general, but specifically for like Black art movements, there's like these 4 stages. It's classify, commodify, codify, kill.
Mm,
So like the big problem is like to try not to get into the codification period. So I
right.
was like, well, if we do something that's called Afrofuturism, right? And this becomes a thing, people are going to gravitate to that book going like, what is Afrofuturism? And so I was just like, well, we're just going to come out with something that just has like all these kinds of wild, crazy things in it of people from all around the world and stuff. That's why it's like Afrofuturism and beyond, right?
Right.
So like I'm just basically going to mess with the whole idea of like what is like I don't want it to be defined for as long as possible.
Right.
So like if we can draw people for that question, they'll be like, oh, what is Afrofuturism? Pick up Mothership and then they'll read it, put it down and go, hey, no, really, what is Afrofuturism? Like then I've done my job to subvert a thing before it becomes a thing.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Makes
And then
sense.
we got lucky, I mean, there are a bunch of people who were famous at the time, and then like a lot of people. So, like we had like Juno Diaz and Victor Laval and SP Sumtow, Lauren Bucus. Like we had like these people, Tobias Bakel, who were already big, but then
Right.
a lot of the people who were just starting out, like this was just before N.K. Jemisin won like all the nebulas, like then like Silvio Moreno Garcia, Carmen Maria Machado, Daniel Jose Older, like there's all these people who became famous. So it was like in the Smithsonian
Nice.
for a few years.
Nice.
They were selling it. And then like 3 years ago, NPR said that they kept comparing it to Dangerous Visions, basically saying like this is like the anthology that predicted a lot.
Huh.
So we got pretty lucky.
That's dope.
And but that's the thing that started it. And yeah, been going. I won't say going strong. We've been going ever since. Sometimes strong, sometimes weak. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
So you
And
told me.
then
Go ahead.
that but then I was gonna say, oh, I need to get rid of that. I thought I changed it. I need to talk to my brother. But because that's very much like a very beginner's kind of because we're not fledgling anymore. We've been around since 2013. Um, but yeah, that was basically it. And then if you're asking me like when I started writing comics, it's basically because becoming a publisher takes up like all your time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was like juggling that daytime job at the time. And wife and kids was just impossible. So I was just like, and the way that I used to write novels was very much like I need to squirrel away for a while
I was
and
gonna say
not be seen.
all or nothing, right? So you needed to
Yeah, because it's like the ideas are like percolating in my head and I'm working on them forever for years. And then at some point I get so depressed that I didn't write it that like so like Sunshine Patriots took about it was 2 3 week periods. My booty novel, that one took a little bit longer, but that was because I just worked on it at late at night. So
wow.
from like every night from like 10:30 till like 2 in the morning, I was writing that. So that one took like a few months. And
And
then
you had a full-time job doing that?
not full time, but close to. Yeah.
That's wild.
And then Coontown, that one was I skipped Thanksgiving, family Thanksgiving to start it. And I finished it I think like the beginning of January.
That's
Uh
you. I mean, you're saying that, and I'm thinking that's so fast.
it is fast, but but also it's just like so like those for like Sunshine Patriots, like I wrote this one thing in 3 weeks that was really small. And then the next 3 weeks, that was literally um my girlfriend is my wife. The girl at the time, she went off to Tanzania for like 3 weeks. I was like had literally lost my job. I was laid off. And
Mm.
then like this freak electrical storm took out our TV.
So you were like locked in, locked in.
I had nothing to do. So basically every day, like I put our little, put the, because we had a large window and we were like lived on a busy street, these large windows in the living room. So I just took a card table, put it in the living room, put our computer there, and I just pounded away all night. And then every day for lunch, I would go to a Peruvian restaurant, order lomo saltado, and I watched the World Cup. So like that was like the '98 World Cup. So like that's how I just fell in love with like the World Cup and like Brazilian soccer was like that.
That's crazy. That's so awesome. You should write about that.
I can write about a lot of things, but I'm good.
That'd be a great part of your memoir. Like,
Yeah, I'm not writing a memoir, but that's
oh
cool.
no.
That's cool.
So the Adventures of Lion Man. So talk a little bit about that imprint and how it came to be. I think that's you're working with John Jennings on that or no?
Yeah, well, John and I've been together since 2012, right? So we did Blue Hand Mojo, we did Kid Code, his art book, Pitch Black Rainbow, then of course Box of Bones, and then this. Basically, um, John and David Brain were working with Michael Dando, who's a professor at St. Cloud State, to bring back Lion Man. So for those who don't know, Lion Man is one of the first Black superheroes to ever exist, and of course, it was actually done by Black folks. It was in all Negro comics in 1947. So, so it only had one issue because once they found out that all Negro comics was run by all Negroes, it was hard to find another publisher or another printer
Oh,
to like do stuff. Um, but they were working on it as like a thing for disadvantaged youth readers or underserved readers, kids, right? So they came out
right,
with like a little single issue and stuff, and then John was like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And at first, I was like, "Because I'm not a big superhero fan.
right,
However, I am a big history buff." So, and then of course, yeah, Black publishers doing comics, like of course I want that history told.
right,
And then later on I found out that it was actually published in Pittsburgh, which is where I'm from, so I was just like,
right.
oh, this was meant to be.
And to be for sure.
um but so, and I have a yeah, so that was basically it. And then we needed a spine, like when you're coming out, because we are internationally distributed and we are in bookstores, so you need a book with a spine. So then that's how we ended up, um because it's like three short stories by David and John, and then I co-wrote one with Yvette Lisa Ndlovu, who's a Zimbabwean science fiction writer, who's insanely talented and funny. Um, she was one of my students at Clarion West. Um, so we did something based on, well, it's basically Mugabe in Zimbabwe, but January 6th, oddly enough.
Mm.
but,
Wow.
but and then we picked another one, Damien Duffy, because Damien and John have been together, Damien, John, and Stacy. So we've all been hanging out for over a decade, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say a decade. More
Yeah,
than a decade.
yeah. So that was pretty much it. And then we did a little public domain art gallery with like 20 some odd artists in it.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
No, the work is always stunning, and I learned a little bit about the lore, the about history of it when I interviewed John. So I think it's really cool. Like you said, we need more Black comics published by Black publishers. Just you
Well, I
know,
mean, for me, yeah, I'm not a big representation person or whatever. Like what I tell people is like they stole our spaces so long ago they actually think that they're theirs.
mm,
But so I'm basically just reclaiming what has always been mine, right?
mm, right.
Um, and
But I was
then
thinking more in terms just the sort of the cultural nuances, some things that just don't need to be explained or over explained, or you know what I mean? Like,
I I
stuff.
okay, so this one is tricky because that's literally why I like basically, yeah, like we're like reclaiming our own spaces, we're reclaiming our own voices. So I very much do that, right? But then I did actually write something that was outside of my experience, right?
Mm,
So the Klan book, The Day the Klan Came to Town, the main character in that is Sicilian.
mm,
But I guess you need to tell. So the day the Klan came to town, I don't know if I gave you that cover, right? But
mm.
that's that's based on a real event that happened in my hometown, Carnegie, PA, in 1923. So this was back when Southern Eastern European Irish weren't white. So like we actually weren't the target, right?
I'm gonna quickly stop sharing my screen so we can
Uh,
see your face and my blurred out face, but we see your face.
um, but so we weren't the target. We were there, but we weren't the main target. It was these people who are now white, right?
Wow.
So the Klan marches 30,000 people on a town of 10,000. They outnumbered the immigrants 10-1 in the streets, and the Klan lost, right? But because everybody became white, it was a town secret till we came out with the book. So one of the things that is tricky for me when we start talking about this is that the main character popped into my head one time when I was actually driving past Carnegie on my way to my mom's house. And that character was Sicilian, right?
Mhm.
So the funny thing with that is um apparently I did a pretty good job at portraying a Sicilian. So I had to speak at like an Italian American academic conference about the book. There are a
Mm.
couple of like Italian American professors who teach the book. And it was actually like translated into Italian and is sold in Italy now.
Wow, wow.
so so
Mind-boggling.
huh?
That's mind-boggling.
Um, I mean it's flattering.
No, it's
It's
awesome. No, I mean that
yeah,
in the most positive way possible.
yeah. But I think like and a woman at the Heinz History Center, they actually paid for us to go up to Carnegie because like the town actually, because the book got such a big attention, the town actually reclaimed the riot and now proudly proclaims how they fought the Klan. But they actually had us go up, me and Bijan go up there. They paid for us to go up there to commemorate the centennial.
Wow.
So it's like this crazy book that just
How
kind of
old were
like
you? How old were you when that happened?
1923.
No, you said that's when the Klan came?
Yeah, 1923.
Oh, I
My
thought you said
grandmother was born that year.
no, I thought you said you oh, they came when you were alive.
No, no, it happened in 1923.
Oh, because the Klan came when I was about 12 or 13 to Richmond,
Yeah, but they
California.
were attacking people who, by the time I was alive, were considered
No
white.
longer considered okay. Got you.
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah. That was like the key part.
got
But
you.
yeah,
Focus, baby.
so
Focus.
right, so I agree. That's one of the things that I'm like obviously, I'm a big advocate for own voices, but I kind of like, yeah, I kind of didn't do that once, but I think I did. Oh, but anyway, yeah. So this woman who runs the Italian American Heritage section of the Heinz History Center, I just ran into her because I gave her a copy of the book in Italian, right? Because I thought she'd get a kick out of it. And she was talking about how she was talking. She was telling me about how she was talking about the book with with a professor who was just like marveling at like how right I got things,
Right.
like the language and all the different culture things. And I told her like when you're doing, when you're writing the other, like, and I said this before and at a talk where I was being a little hostile. Well,
You
because they
were
were
there.
asking like, how do you write the like? It was a bunch of white folks asking, how do you write the other, right? And I'm just like, I just hate that term. Yet again, othering 93% of humanity, right? But I was just like, well, the approach is whatever you think you know about another person or another culture, you're wrong. Like whatever it is, that's the approach that you have to have. Like you have to. So like that's what I did. Like I studied a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
Because being Sicilian and being Italian are two different things, especially then.
yeah, yeah.
So like that, like there's a lot of foreign languages in the book, but they don't speak Italian in it. They speak Sicilian. There's like stuff like that that you just kind of do. Little
Well,
patron saints, like just stuff like that, where you're just like, whatever I think I know, I don't know. And then just being respectful of like your own ignorance.
well, the little bit that I do know is that Sicilians still to this day, if you say that they're white, don't necessarily agree with you.
Well, I mean, that was one of the reasons that like a few Italian American professors found the book interesting is for whiteness studies, which is funny because I've been taught under whiteness studies and critical race theory with the Coontown. So like that's a weird one. That's a weird thing to put on your mantle.
That is,
um,
I would not have guessed that. Guess.
but yeah, so when you open Coontown, I mean, I'm sorry, when you open The Day the Klan Came to Town, there's a Black Madonna, right? Madonna del Soccorso. So, yeah, I think that's like Our Lady of Succor, right? So she's holding a little baby and has a club, right? Like, so she's great. But she's the patron saint of the town that these people are from.
Wow.
Um, so the interesting thing is she's a Black Madonna, right? And in Sicily, there are four Black Madonnas. But if you look at pictures, until this day, there's still Black Madonnas. But if you look at pictures of her in the US, she's blonde hair and blue eyed.
Wow.
Right. So it's just like this whole big transformation of trying. I mean, Columbus Day was like a big kind of like that's why Italians are so, because that was like their bid for whiteness, right? It was,
Hmm.
hey, we should get people to celebrate Columbus,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Anyway.
Crazy. Um, so let's jump into a couple of these questions. So you
Okay.
talked a little bit about where you grew up. Just explain. You said I thought it was Pittsburgh. You're saying it's Carnegie. Where did you grow up?
No, Carnegie is on the border of Pittsburgh. I mean, you
Okay.
just say, when you're from a place, you're just like, it's easier just to say, I'm from the city. Like I was born in the city and like literally is on the border, but it's a suburb because Pittsburgh, I mean, it's definitely a suburb. But I spent a lot of time because on the American side, we are from mining places. So I spent a lot of, like, the place with the two stop signs, that's where I went to kindergarten. And then, like, there were a couple other mill towns. And we moved to Carnegie when I was like 8.
Wow. So were
Uh,
you saying on the American side, you said you're Jamaican. On the other side, did you spend summers there? Did you go back to Jamaica a
nope,
lot? Nope.
nope.
But you
I
just
didn't even get to meet my Jamaican side of my family till I was 12
wow. And they came to the
because
U.S.
my dad was my dad.
But you came to the U. They came to the U.S. You didn't go
We,
there.
yep,
Wow, that's very interesting. No, my dad's
not
from Ghana.
really, but okay.
No, it is because my dad's from Ghana, but I've never been to Ghana. I've never met my other side of the family either. So
Okay, all right. Well then, I didn't know we have these things in common.
yes, we did.
Ah, fathers.
I was gonna try to psychoanalyze, but like it's too late. I'm not gonna
Yeah, let's not.
unpack.
Let's not. I'm not
In
trying to feel that right at the
not
moment.
gonna unpack any of that.
No, no.
So
I think that people who know will know.
we'll know exactly.